It's 3 in the morning, you wake up in the dark, and you need a glass of water. So you get out of bed, and you start walking through your own home. Somewhere between the bedroom and the kitchen, your body begins doing things you never asked it to. Your steps get quicker, your ears strain at a silence that suddenly feels too full. At the top of the stairs, the skin on the back of your neck prickles. You are certain, for no reason at all, that something is standing right behind you. There is nothing there. You know there is nothing there. And still, without deciding to, you find yourself walking a little faster. That fear, the one you feel a little embarrassed about, was never really yours to begin with. You inherited it. It is older than your language, older than your name, older than your species. For 400,000 generations, that exact feeling kept your ancestors alive through the night. This is the story of the oldest fear a human being can feel, and why, for almost all of our history, the dark was the most dangerous place on Earth. Not as a metaphor, not as a mood, as a simple nightly fact. Because here is what we forget, sitting safe in our warm, well-lit rooms. For most of our story, when the sun went down, the world stopped being ours. It belonged to the things that could see in the dark, in the hours when we cannot. We like to picture our ancestors as hunters, standing proudly at the top of the food chain. For a very long stretch of our past, the opposite was true. We were the prey. In a cave called Swartkrans, in South Africa, there is a small fossil skull. It belonged to an early human relative, a child, from almost 2 million years ago. In the back of that little skull sit 2 neat, round holes. For years, nobody could explain them, until someone lifted up the lower jaw of a leopard. The 2 fangs slid into the 2 holes perfectly, like a key into its lock. That child had been caught, killed, and dragged up into a tree by a leopard. To the predators, our caves were pantries, and we were the meat left on the shelf. Go back further, nearly 3 million years, to a famous fossil we call the Taung Child. The marks around its eye sockets match the talons of a giant crowned eagle. Sit with that for a second, a bird large enough to carry off one of your ancestors. This was the world we grew up in. Small, slow, soft-skinned, and very easy to eat. Understand what darkness does to a hunt. In daylight, prey can see the predator coming and run. After dark, the first warning you get is the weight already landing on your back. And it was never only leopards and eagles. The prehistoric night was crowded with things that wanted us. Giant hyenas that hunted in packs. Cave bears the size of a small car. Big cats the world has since forgotten, and nearly all of them did their finest work in the exact conditions where we went blind. Strength did not save us. Speed did not save us. Fear did, fear and each other. And nearly every animal that wanted to eat us shared one enormous advantage over us. They hunted at dusk, they hunted at midnight. They hunted in the exact hours when we go blind. Human eyes are built for the day. We see color and detail and distance beautifully in sunlight. After dark, we are close to helpless. Our night vision is almost a joke beside a cat's. And there is a cruel reason for that weakness, buried in the back of your own eye. A cat has a mirror behind its retina that bounces light back for a second pass. That is the glow you see at night. We gave that mirror away long ago in exchange for something else entirely. Sharp, bright, full-color vision, the finest daytime eyes in the entire animal world. It was a good trade for a creature of the sun, and it left us helpless the moment it set. So for our ancestors, sunset was the moment the real danger began. Every night the same cruel arithmetic. Out there, something that can see you. In here, you blind. And in the dark, your other senses take over, and every one of them turns traitor on you. A branch settling becomes a footstep. A gust of wind becomes a breath on the back of your neck. Your own heartbeat, suddenly loud, becomes the sound of something in the room, getting closer. And then, somewhere along the way, we found the one thing that changed the whole equation: fire. In Wonderwerk Cave, also in South Africa, lie ash and burnt bone roughly 1 million years old. Not a wildfire that tore through, but a fire that was kept fed and guarded deep inside a cave. Fire did what no claw and no muscle of ours ever could. It pushed the dark back, it drew a circle of light on the ground. And inside that circle, for the first time, we were safe. Predators fear the flames. They will not cross them. So the fire became a wall made of light, and that one simple circle split the entire human world cleanly into two halves inside the light. Warmth, faces, safety, each other. Outside it, teeth, hunger, and the waiting dark. Your ancestors sat inside that ring of light every night for thousands upon thousands of years, and they learned one lesson so deeply that it stopped being a lesson and became a reflex. The edge of the firelight is the edge of the world. Step past it and you die. And notice what that circle of light became. Beyond a place of mere safety, it became home. The very first home had no walls and no roof. It was a patch of light with people inside it, holding back the dark. To this very day, we gather around glowing things in darkened rooms. A screen, a candle, a fire. We are still doing it every night, still pulling close to the light, still keeping the dark at arm's length together. Here is where it gets strange and where this stops being ancient history and becomes about you. A fear this important could never be left to careful thought. Thinking is slow, a leopard is not. So evolution wired this fear to bypass your thinking mind completely. Deep inside your brain sits a small almond-shaped cluster called the amygdala. It is your alarm system, and it runs on its own private, high-speed line. When something in the dark startles you, the signal hits the amygdala before the reasoning part of you. Your body is already reacting, heart slamming, muscles tightening, before you have decided anything at all. That is why you jump first and feel foolish second. The fear moves faster than the thought, and the logic underneath it is brutally simple. It is the logic of a smoke detector. A smoke alarm that shrieks at burnt toast is annoying. One that stays silent in a real fire kills you. So your brain is tuned to sound false alarms on purpose. Better to flinch at 1,000 harmless shadows. Because the single time the shadow is real, that flinch is the only thing that keeps you breathing. Your ancestors who shrugged and assumed the rustle was just the wind were sometimes right. Your ancestors who assumed the rustle was a predator and ran are the ones who lived. You come from a very long line of people who were terrified over nothing, again, and survived. But the dark does something sneakier than simply frightening you. It makes you imagine when you cannot see. Your brain flatly refuses to report an honest, empty blackness. It cannot stand not knowing. So it takes the darkness and it fills the blanks in for you. Every vague shape becomes a figure. Every small sound becomes a footstep. Every silence becomes a held breath. Scientists call this a hyperactive agency detector, a mind forever hunting for a someone behind the dark. And again, this was no accident. Evolution installed it on purpose because it kept us alive. Assuming the shape in the dark is a hunter costs you a jolt of fear and nothing more. Assuming it is nothing on the night it truly is a hunter costs you everything you have, so we became a species that sees faces in the shadows and hears intention in the wind. The monster under the bed is far older than any movie. Evolution sketched it first. Every culture on Earth with no contact between them invented things that live in the dark and hunt us. Spirits, demons, night crawlers, the pale thing that waits just past the edge of the fire. Travel anywhere on Earth to peoples who never once met, and you will find the very same invention. A flesh-eater that stalks the northern snow. A shapeshifter that hunts the villages by night. Night witches, hungry ghosts, the thing with too many limbs standing just inside the tree line. They look nothing alike, and yet underneath the costumes, they are all the same creature. They are the shape of a predator, remembered by a species that spent 1,000,000 years as prey. Those stories are the memory of being prey, dressed up in a costume and told back to us. And sometimes that ancient alarm does something truly cruel. It follows you into your sleep. Have you ever woken in the night, fully awake in your mind, yet completely unable to move a muscle? A crushing weight settles onto your chest. A certainty grips you that something is in the room. That is sleep paralysis, and it strikes when your mind wakes up before your body is unlocked. In deep sleep, your body is held deliberately still so that you do not act out your dreams. But now and then you surface too early, awake and aware, and yet frozen there in the dark. And your ancient brain, alert and helpless, reaches for the only explanation it has ever trusted. Something is here. Something is holding me down. Something in the dark is watching me. Across every culture, people describe the same shadow in the corner, the same weight, the same dread, the old hag, the night visitor, the silent presence at the foot of the bed. It is the primal fear breaking into the one place you believed was finally safe. Your own bed. So how did a creature this vulnerable, this blind after sunset ever survive the night at all? The answer is deeply, beautifully human. We never faced the dark alone. We faced it together. Researchers recently lived among the Hadza, hunter-gatherers in Tanzania, who still sleep as we once did. They watched an entire camp sleep across hundreds of hours, and they found something remarkable. There was almost never a single moment when every last person was asleep at once. The old woke early, the young stayed up late. Someone always shifted, coughed, stirred, and watched. Without ever planning it, the group kept a rolling guard across the whole length of the night. Someone was always awake at the edge of the fire, quietly guarding the sleep of everyone else. Your fear of the dark was never meant to be carried alone by one person in one bed. It was shared, spread thin across a circle of people who trusted each other to keep watch, and the dark shaped even the way we slept. For most of our history, we did not sleep in one solid block. People slept in two shifts. A first sleep after dark, a waking hour in the deep of the night, then a second sleep before dawn. In that quiet waking hour, they prayed, they talked, they tended the fire, or lay listening to the dark. It was one more layer of the watch, one more way the group never went fully asleep and fully helpless at once. The dark may be one of the deepest reasons we ever became a social animal at all, and consider a child, terrified of the dark, who has never once been in real danger. No one sat them down and taught them this. No monster ever touched them. Yet they are certain. That is the clearest proof of all. The fear arrives before the experience that would explain it. It is not learned in a single lifetime. It is remembered across an entire species. The child crying at a dark doorway is doing something unimaginably old, and the children who were just a little too cautious, long ago, are the ones who lived to grow up. Watch a small child at bedtime, and you are watching an argument 1,000,000 years old. The dark, says the child's body, is where the danger lives. Do not lie down. Do not close your eyes. Do not be alone. Every parent who has ever left a hallway light burning has been quietly negotiating with the Ice Age. That fear did not begin with them. They were simply born already carrying it. But the dark did not only fill us with fear. Inside that circle of firelight, something else was born, held together by the flames, with nothing to do but wait out the long night. We began to talk. Researchers who recorded one hunter-gatherer community noticed that day talk and night talk were worlds apart. By daylight, people spoke of practical things: work, food, tools, arguments, the plans for tomorrow. But at night, by the fire, the talk changed. It softened, and it turned to stories, myths and ancestors, far-off places, the spirits in the dark, the people who came before them. The firelight, with the darkness pressing close around it, became the birthplace of human imagination. The same dark that filled our nights with monsters also filled them, slowly, with meaning. Our stories, our gods, our first questions about the stars, all of it began inside that circle. We are the animal that took its oldest terror and turned it into its very first bedtime story. And here is the quiet miracle hidden in all of this. The same dark that sharpened our fear also stretched our minds. To survive the night, you had to imagine the predator that was not there yet, and plan for the threat you could not see. The mind that fills the dark with monsters is the very same mind that fills it with gods and stories. And tomorrow, the imagination that built every cathedral and every song was forged, staring into the dark, braced for what might come. Now, an honest confession: we cannot excavate a feeling. Fear leaves no fossil in the ground. We will never find the exact night one of our ancestors first felt that prickle on the neck. So how can anyone claim to know any of this? Because the evidence surrounds the feeling on every side. We have the skulls with the fang marks, We have the fires kept burning a million years ago. We have the wiring buried in your brain, and the same fear in every culture that has ever lived. When a fear is this universal, this automatic, and this ancient, it stops looking like a coincidence. It reads like a signature pressed into us by countless nights that were genuinely trying to kill us. And think about how strange that truly is. Find a stranger on the far side of the planet. They share none of your language, none of your gods, and none of your history. Put them alone in a dark, unfamiliar room, and their heart will race for the exact same reason yours does. That shared, wordless reaction runs deeper than any culture. It is the whole species remembering at once, and then in a single blink of that endless story, we did something no animal had ever done. We reached out, and we switched the dark off. The electric light filling your home right now is barely 140 years old. Set that against a million years of firelight, and it is the last half-second of a very long day. In that half-second, we drown the night, streetlights, glowing screens, cities that never fully go dark. Look down at our planet from space at night now, and the continents are traced in electric light. There are children alive today who have never once seen a truly dark sky or the full spread of the stars. In conquering the dark, we quietly erased the very thing that first made us look up and wonder. We built the first world in the history of life where a human can be both safe and blind at once. We won. The great predators are gone. The dark, for most of us, is completely empty now. There is only one problem. Your body was never told that the war is finally over. An alarm built across a million years cannot be switched off in a single well-lit century. So it still fires in the dark hallway, on the basement stairs, in the empty garage at night, and watch what we still do, even now, surrounded by all this light. We leave a lamp on for a frightened child. We check behind the shower curtain. We keep 1 foot under the blanket, as if the blanket were a wall. We pay good money to sit in a dark room and let a horror film press this exact ancient button on purpose. The room is empty. Some deep, older part of us simply refuses to believe it. Your ancient brain looks at the modern dark, and it sees the old world staring back. It sees the edge of the firelight again, and it remembers everything that used to wait beyond it. You're a running predator detection built for a world that no longer exists, and nobody told the software. So the next time it happens, and it will happen, try to meet it a little differently. The next time your hand reaches for a light switch, just a touch too fast. The next time you climb the stairs at night and do not quite dare to look behind you. That cold prickle on the back of your neck is the oldest, most loyal part of you, doing its only job. It is 400,000 generations of ancestors, all whispering the very same warning at once. Every one of them felt what you are feeling now. Every one of them lived long enough to pass it down. You are the living end of an unbroken line of people who feared the dark and survived it anyway. So stand there for a moment at the edge of your own small circle of light. Feel the old fear rise and then feel the strange quiet comfort waiting just beneath it. You are never alone out here in the dark. You are simply, at long last, the one keeping watch.